Hello, just doing another tutorial here. This is on sort of doing drums, making fat drums, and sort of getting a really nice sounding drum and bass loop. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a simple loop here, and what it consists of is a few kick drum layers, snare layers, rides, hats. We've got bongos and congo hits, and it just makes a nice noise. Yeah, a very good sounding track loop, if I can get my words out. So basically, what I did is I started out with a kick and a snare. I do this for most drum loops. I usually get either like a kick drum on the 4/4, just on the beat, or get some claps just layering over the top so I can get a bass for what I want my loop to sound like. So I started out with these two. Let's go. This is the ones we want. A kick and a snare. So I'll show you what this is, and I'll show you how I built it up throughout the loop and what I've done to sort of get the sound. I won't show you the whole thing now because I'll let you wait for the final product, because it is quite good, and you can hear over time how it builds up. Okay, so let's play this and I'll show you what I did. That sounds fine to me. It sounds like a bass for an idea. That's how I see single bits like this. So we start out with a kick. I mainly start with a kick first. Depends if you want to do drum and bass. I usually have a snare first because that thing, you can fit everything around that sort of steady beat. If you want the kick to stand out more, start with the kick. But for this loop, I think I started with a snare. So if we go to our snare channel, bring up the step sequencer, which is here. All it basically is a sample from drum and bass pack from Loop Masters, I think it was. And it's just a snare which sounds like this. That's the original sound, and I wanted it a bit more snappy because I think it had a bit too much tail on it. So I used this out knob, and what this does is it fades out like a really quick fade, and same for the in. It does the in, so it just does a quick fade in or a fade out, and I just took a lot of it away, and you can hear it gets a lot more snappy. Sort of the thing you want in a track when it's quite fast. And then what I did is I laid another snare on top of it, and we get a sound something like this. This is the actual second snare. It's quite a deeper one. This one actually had a hi-hat in it, as you can see in the waveform here. I didn't want that hi-hat in, but at the same time I did. So I used the out button again just to fade out quickly, and you sort of bring the hi-hat down in the level. And what that does is it sits back in the track a bit, and you can hear the snare more, and the hi-hat will be there, but it will just be enough so you can hear it and feel that sort of shuffle sort of thing. That sounds good to me. And then I worked on the kicks, so I'll show you how I did these variations of the kicks. The original kick I used was this one. Oh, sorry, that's a snare. This is a kick. It's basically just a kick drum. It's from the same sample pack again. It's got a tail end of a hi-hat sort of closing sort of thing. That works good at the end of say a bar. This is 8 beats, I think it's set at, 8 beats here, and it sort of gives the listener that end feeling of that sort of section. And for the second kick, it's just basically a solid kick with a hi-hat sort of in there as well. But I think that works quite well. So if we play it again, you can hear. I left a little gap here. This is just a normal drum and bass beat. It's just on the first. So let's do a first. So we go down to 4. Let's go to 4 beats per pattern. So this all really drum and bass is a kick on the first, and on the third beat, shall I say, it's on the off beat. So you get something like this, and then you add a snare in. It's just variations upon that. I can't remember. What did I have? 8. That's that, and that, I think. There we go. That was what I had before. So that sort of feel was a typical drum and bass beat, and then you just do variations within that, and that's pretty much it. So what I did next for that was add another kick drum over the top. Get this one up. This is from the same sample pack. Here again we have a snare kick. It had quite a long tail. As you can see, the end of that is quite long, and there was a lot of bass in the bottom end of that. So I just cut out some of the bass just by using the out knob. You get a much sort of quicker, punchier sound, in my opinion. It wasn't sitting very well within the track, so as we can see here, I have a Pongo effect knob, and what this does is it just does something really weird with the waveform, which I'm not 100% sure what it does. But when I first bring the track in, I think it actually shortens and expands that sort of sample that you're using. It doesn't fit very well with the original kick. So if we play the two kicks together, you can hear what I mean. You can hear you get you sort of get a slight echo sort of feel. And if you use this Pongo effect, you can sort of fit the waveforms in together, and it sort of sounds a lot fatter and beefier. There you go. You'll actually hear it when it kicks in to a certain point, because it sounds a lot sharper and a lot more togetherness. I was thinking in my head, sort of that togetherness. So we've sorted out our snares. I sort of layered a different snare on top of the two that was already there. Go back. Here is the snare that the third snare. This is actually a Rex loop chopped up into slice X, and we can just left click or right click, sorry, and we can preview the samples within this loop. Altogether, the loop sounds something like this. Yeah, you get the rough idea. And what I did is I took the snare sounds out of this loop because I thought they were sounding the best. Quite punchy. So I was using those snares as a guide. I've got ones here as well. I think these ones just to layer it. Yeah, they were... yeah, these are sort of the high ends, so they can layer sort of a higher sound over the deeper snare. So you get this. And I had a little extra one there just to give it a bit of a shuffle. It's not actually on the beat or on the offbeat. It's there, so as you can see. Right, so that gives it a little shuffle. As you can see, we'll play the loop there. And for the kicks and snares, what I did do next is put them into their own their own mixer channels. As you can see here, I've got kick 1, 2, and 3 in their own separate channels. The same with the snares. I've also put them into a group, so all these outputs of these snares and kicks go into their own separate group, so they can sort of you can EQ or compress all the drums at once as a whole. So simply all you have to do is click on the channel you want, or even, well, to start off, make a separate channel that's empty, nothing's in there that's being used. You can label it, color it to what you want, and then simply click on one of the kick channels or your snare channels or any instrument really. And if you come down here to the bottom, we'll see these dials. What it would originally look like is something like this. So it's going out to your master, and what this does is it sets the level to how much of the sound output you want to go into that channel. So all I did was click down here on the enable send to this channel, right click, and I got route to this track only. Simply click that and gone. So if you've got any other set, it will simply put it into that channel, and you have all your kicks and snares going into their own separate channel. For each snare and each kick, I've done a bit of EQing. It really depends on the sound of the kick and the sound of the snare. Usually with a snare, roll off about 100 to between 100 and 200 hertz. So I would do that for the overall snare, so that you make sure you're chopping off all the bass on each one as well. That's good. So if we play the loop again, you can see them going into their own channels. So that was that. What did I do next? I think I may have added the hi-hat shuffles. Yeah. So I did. Well, I've actually got a loop here. I'll put this into a new mixer channel. It is the drum and bass 118 drum. That's the one. This one. Let's put it in here. So this is the. This here is the original. So all I did was take that first part out, as you can see here, and use some of the sounds from there for this shuffle. So I can get rid of this actually. Delete that. Let's go to this one here. And as you can see, these first two are actually hi-hats. I took out all the snares and everything else, all the other percussions that weren't sounding like hi-hats. But for the middle bit here, this is where you get a shuffle sound. So let me circle those. You get a shuffle in drum and bass by, it's usually on the second and third beat. Around the second and third beat, you add I would say probably 3 or 4 sort of different quick sort of snare sounds. So you've got a really tight sort of snare sounds, and those create a shuffle. So which one? It's a slight variation within those sort of snare sounds that gives it that shuffle. And as you can hear, and that sits quite well. So if we overlay those hi-hat shuffles with our kicks and our snares, and bring it in our kicks, snares. Get a nice sound going in there. What you can do here is just roll off some of the low end, because that's where your snares and kicks are gonna, and probably your bass. So your rough bass is going to sit around there, along with your sub bass as well. You can add a compressor. I really like using the Camel Crusher compressor from Camel Audio. Because we've got low sort of snare sounds in there, what we can do is use a compressor to bring up those sounds and sort of bring out those snares as well. So if we solo that, it doesn't really matter if you over compress this sound, because the actual hi-hats themselves are really distorted anyway. Well, got a bit of crunch to them, so it will, you can over compress them, and you can distort them a little bit as well to give them a bit more roughness if you want. So I think that works quite well. And then we bring those in with the kick and snare. I think we'll need to lower the sound definitely. So I'll just sort that out. So now if I bring the compressor off, you'll actually hear a difference within the sound. the overall sound seems a lot more together, and a lot more tighter, and that's how you get a good sound. But try not to over compress any other sounds, because it will sound, how can I say, it's hard to explain what I actually mean, but make sure you try not to over compress everything, or it'll just sound solid. And I mean, there won't be enough variation, and your ears will just get absolutely tired from listening to a straight solid sound. So yeah, that's what I did there. What did I add next? The rides, yeah. These rides just sit on the beat. It's just like a kick on in house music, so it's a 4 to the floor sort of kick. But instead of using kicks, we're using rides. All it is a simple ride sound. The original sounded like this. Bit of a long release tail on that. So I've just bring down the outs or a quick fade. Because if we did have it sounding like that, you'll hear the tail end repeating itself, and the sound will just slowly build up, and it'll just sound a mess. You can overcome this 2 ways. As I said, you can use the fade out knob, or if we go into our sequencer window, you can right click and come down to cut itself, and simply click that, and there you go. It pretty much does the same job, but if you got a long sample and you play the sample again, it will straight cut it, so it will go back to the beginning and play like that. So it's a good way of sort of, if you got longer samples and you want them to play at the start in different times, you can use it that way. So the snare, right, actually we'll do it this way. Add it together. Gives it sort of that jumpiness, if you know what I mean. We add our hi-hat shuffles back in. Yeah, what you could do is try and make these actual rides a bit wider in the stereo field. So a way of doing that is simply duplicating it or cloning it, having the same again. Make sure we've got 1 pound hard right and hard left. Go into our piano roll. We Control A to select all. Just bring down the ends like so, and then we move one or a selection of these very, very slightly forwards or backwards, and we can do this by holding our Alt key, left clicking and dragging, and you can see you move in very fine increments. So simply what you need to do is just something like that. That's like 100th, 10th of a second, or 100th of a second really. So it's very minor. We get because one's delayed behind the other. So we zoom back in. I think that may be a bit too much. And this knob here controls the stereo separation. I usually increase it by about 10 to 15%, not too much. You can also do the same effect if we go into our mixer and we load in a stereo shaper. Simple delay. Just change the delay on that, and you're pretty much sorted. Something very simple like that. We can add all the elements back in and we get this. Try not to overdo it on sort of sounds like this, wide sounds. Well, maybe you can do it on percussion, but for synth sounds I wouldn't recommend it, because you might actually lose sort of the feel and actually where it is in the stereo field. What else have I done? Let's have a look. Bongo hits and congos. These two, very, very simple. These are just single hits to sort of give it a bit of variation. Where are they gone? Here we go. Simple congo hit. This one was from the same sample pack I got all my other samples from, just with a long tail. And bongo hits, and the congos is the next one. Same sample pack, just with a loop. I chopped it up. Well, this is a Rex loop, so it was pre-chopped, and all I did was just use the sound from here in the track. So if I put them all together, you get this. This one at the end isn't making a sound. The volume's turned down, as you can see here. That's fully off. Why I did that was because I wanted it to play every 8 beats. And if we just took that last one off, you see it will only make a 4 beats. You can extend it like so, just by clicking on the outside, but it won't do it for all the ones that are there already. You'll have to put them back in like so, or you could highlight them. You can use the selection tool up here in the toolbar to select, or we can press Shift E and it automatically switches to that. So that's a nice keyboard command there. So we just bring out the pencil tool again, which is up here, or it's Control P. So I'll come with the selection tool and then go Shift P, sorry. Shift for tools to the top here. And once we've got them all selected, we can just drag them out like so. But personally, as I like to just bring one at the end, and then you know every time you bring a new one down, it will automatically do an 8 bar for you. Because if you did that, you just get a 4 bar. So it's not too useful. Right, so there we go. So yeah, you get that, and I'll add them in with the kick and snares for you, and then I'll add the other instruments as we go along, so you can hear sort of the final product of this loop. So that's a nice loop to go with. What you can do from here on is get a new mixer channel, and I'll show you how to do these groups, and I'll show you what you can do for sort of all your drums as a final. We just if we hit Shift and move up on our mouse wheel, we can move the channels up and down. Like so. and simply right click. We can rename and recolor if we right click, or we can press F2. I like to do that, and then rename it. You can name it all drums or just drum final drum group, like so. We add a right click, add a icon. I forgot to actually color it. You can go into our colors. If we got a name like this, we can hit F2 and it will randomly select a color for you. But I prefer to get my own. So these give me a second. So because if you do that, what it'll do is it will come up with the last colors you've selected here and used. So all I do is click that and then go back into the plus for more colors, and then I just change a variation within that. So what color would I want it? I want it a blue, more of a blue color. So it'll be a sort of a teal color. There we go. That should do very nicely. And you can put all these outputs into this channel. So we just do the groups only if you've got them set up for groups, like so. And if you haven't got ones for set up for groups already, and you can just route to that track, like so. These groups are also known as sends or buses, pretty much like the sends you've got here at the end. Preferably I like to use ones that are right next to the instrument so you can tell what you're going to quickly and easily. So now that we've got our final mixer channel, this is what we've got here, and we can add compressor and EQ it. Let's add a compressor. Nasty. Too much distortion. Too much compression. Bring the volume right up. There we go. Just compressed it. You can use the, where'd it go? Multi-band compressor, because I think multi-band compressor will work well with drums, because you can really compress how much high, low and mid you've got. Also, which was the other one? Also you can EQ it, so you can pick out a full EQ for the whole sound. So if parts of your drums are sort of clashing sound wise with different track elements, so for example keys or bass or something, or your pads, you can just drop down that sort of EQ section, that frequency, very slightly. I like to do it probably about 2 or 3 decibels. Make sure you've got a sort of a wide sort of area. I wouldn't do it too wide. So you're looking wrong one. Probably something about that. So bandwidth of, I would say about 30%, which works quite well. Just reset that. There we go. And that's pretty much it. What you can do for these separate sounds, I wouldn't do it for the final mix, the final drum group, because you've got kicks in there. And what we will be doing, what you could be doing, is putting a separate reverb channel on your send, so you could put all your drums sounds there. I have done for 2 and 3, for snare 2 and 3. I haven't done it for snare 1, because I wanted that snare to be quite solid and the other two to be a wider sound. I have done reverb for the hi-hats. The rides I could actually do, I can show you that now. In that channel, just Reverb 2, I think. So yeah, bongos. I think the bongo hit actually has got enough reverb on it already. That sounded nice. So yeah, that's pretty much. It's a long tutorial. It's a long video. But yeah, I went into a lot of detail in this one, and that's how you create a really nice drum and bass loop. Or you can pick up little tips and tricks from here. You can use in sort of house or any other sort of style of music, to be honest. So thank you for watching. If you want any suggestions, if you got any suggestions on tutorials for the future, feel free to comment down below in the video description or send me a personal message. It's up to you. So until next time, actually I'll end with the final loop, and then, until next time, practice and enjoy.